So like we were talking about right before we started recording, right? I got to get off Twitter, man.
Yeah, you do. Tell us about it.
One of my favorite mangas is ending.
Okay.
Within the next 5 weeks, right? It has 5 chapters left. And another one which I really didn't like the ending of ended pretty recently, and seeing jokes about that is fine, whatever, and I'm fine with people playing up some of the flaws of the series because of that. Sure, cool. Because I also want to shit on it, and they're funny to me. But now people are shitting on a series that I like, and it's like they haven't read it. Because
it's different when it's something I like. It's okay to make fun of shit that I don't like.
It is. It's very, very different. But it's gotten so bad that people are making threads which are like, oh, looks like Gege forgot this too, and it'll be like something that, yeah, Gege Akatami.
Okay, I thought that. Forgive me for thinking this was a homophobic joke.
Oh, no.
Wait,
no.
Okay, what's the manga? Back it up, please.
Jujutsu Kaisen is
the
one ending soon.
This is the one that Megan Thee Stallion likes, right?
It is.
Yeah,
it is,
okay.
Yeah.
Look, I'm such a fucking weeb.
Yeah, hell yeah. Or a weeb,
yeah.
Yeah, whatever you want to go with that.
A gamer.
Yeah, the intro to one of her songs, she actually got the English voice actor for Yuji, the main character. Yeah.
We talked about this.
I like a tall woman with a fat ass, like Grammy winner Megan Thee Stallion, which is like really funny, or Emmy winner. I don't know what Grammys are.
It's the Grammy.
For the
gramophone.
I was right off the bat. Hell yeah.
A gramophone, that's what
nice.
the Grammy looks like. It's the
like an Emmaphone for the when the Emmys get their. Yeah. So anyway, but like people are bringing up things and they're like, oh, I wish she had like expanded upon this, or I wish she had done this, and they also don't understand who the antagonist of the series is, because it's the character directly opposing the protagonist, not one of the other villains, and they're like, oh, he's just not doing anything with him, like he got killed off too easily, yada yada. It's like no, that character had a foil, and the foil is like, I think he was the perfect foil because not only were his powers like almost the direct opposite of his powers were the opposite of the character's motivations, right? I don't know, it's a whole big thing, and the author likes to do that a lot, where he'll put characters who have maybe not opposing motivations, but like sort of like different ideologies behind why they're fighting and the way that they fight, and it's really interesting. And it seems like people just aren't reading it at all, and they're like, "Oh, dude, it seems like he forgot about this, and it seems like he forgot about this." And one of them, which really pissed me off, is someone
this is pissing you
arguing
off?
Something. Yeah, surprisingly, huh?
I couldn't tell.
Yeah. So basically, there was like essentially this thing, which is like, hey, if the heroes don't stop it, this comes to pass, and nobody really knows what happens. But it's like Armageddon, right? So obviously, you would assume that doesn't appear unless, the heroes fail. So heroes haven't failed yet. We're kind of assuming that that's not going to happen. And people are like, he forgot about it. We haven't heard anything about it since then. And it's like, yeah, like, no shit. And somebody linked the Wikipedia article to Chekhov's gun there. And I'm like, it's not. It's not,
to
though,
whose
right?
gun?
It'd be like Chekhov? What? How do I pronounce that?
No, you're fine. Go on.
Chekhov?
Yeah.
Is it Chekhov? Is it?
Yeah. It's not
Yeah?
like this wasn't even you pronounced it wrong. It was you made up a different guy's name.
Lane. 80% of things are not that I've pronounced it wrong, it's that I've made up another guy's name. All right.
Please continue.
In fact, yeah, I would say almost 95% of things are not that I've pronounced them wrong, just that it's a whole new person, right? Sometimes I get the first or last name right, though, so that's nice.
I can see
good batting average.
I can see the box of Dragon Ball Z cereal up on top of your bookshelf, and it's making me want to go get some cereal.
Hell yeah.
Sorry,
hell
please
yeah.
continue.
Thank you for looking out for them, by the way. I'm looking for Vegeta, Trunks, and Piccolo. Those are my 3.
All right, watchers. If anybody, it's Captain Crunch, right? Am I making? No, it's
Reese's Puffs.
Reese's Puffs. If anyone can find in their regional grocery store a Vegeta, Trunks, and who was your third one?
Piccolo
edition of Reese's Puffs. Get at us. I'll pay for shipping.
Yeah, let us know. Hell yeah. Just for the box. You can keep the cereal. That's all you. But anyway.
What are you going to do with them if you get them all? Sorry, this is way more interesting to me than the fucking anime bullshit on Twitter. Like...
That's fine. I want to make them into a little mosaic. That's all.
Where? How? Like on your wall? Because your walls are still bare from a year ago when you moved into my apartment, except for the shit that I left behind. So,
I hung one painting. All right, calm down.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but it's the only painting I have. Actually, I hung 2 paintings. So.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I don't have anything over there.
Big white wall right behind you.
Yeah. But I would. Basically, I'm just gonna connect them on their edges. So I'm gonna like cut halfway down this and then slot them together. Right.
So you're just gonna hang the cereal boxes on your wall?
Pretty much, yeah. But like next to each other, and it's only gonna be the characters on the back after I slot them into each other. You know.
That's
I don't know.
Cool.
I like it. They've got the Dragon Balls on them too, 1 through 7. So
I noticed that they do all tile together like that. So when I was in the grocery store.
Yeah. So how was Zumba this weekend?
We can't fucking talk about this. We've already digressed.
Talk about it. No. I had my complaints. I want to hear yours too. Come on.
I'm gonna get flagged by the government if I talk about this Zumba instructor.
Hell yes. Hell yeah. What song? They started with Blurred Lines, right?
So I had the worst, hands down, bar none, with a bullet, the worst Zumba instructor I have ever had. And I've had probably upwards of a dozen different like instructors, like one-offs and like different ones. And this was unbelievably bad. Like, not only, I mean, the song choices, like, okay, Blurred Lines, like, fucking weird way to start a fucking class. Just, regardless. Okay, but sure, fine. Overall, the song choices were not the worst thing I've ever heard. They were middling, you know. There were some good ones. There was some highs and lows. But this instructor, I think, she could not clap or move on beat. And not only was she, like, just not able, like, obviously that's fucking your number one thing that you need to do in that class is fucking dance on beat, since you're leading the class. But then, all of her choreography was also busted as fuck. So, like, Ricky knows this. For the watchers at home, you know, in Zumba, right, there's, like, kind of a standard, like, canon of Zumba moves. There's, like, you know, probably, like, a few dozen, you know, different, like, standard, like, steps and things you do with your arms and your legs and your body. And they kind of build on those. And those are, like, not just, like, that's not just, like, because those are common and easy to learn, but that's, like, the Zumba way. Like, you are supposed to be able to go to any Zumba class and kind of have, like, it's like McDonald's. Like, you're always going to know what's on the menu. And in this case, not only was she not doing, like, the move, like, the standard moves, the moves she was substituting were not making any fucking sense. She would, like, put her hands... she was... She would, like... I can't... Of course, podcasting is an audio medium. But, like, she would, like, shove, like, Scyther style, like, her hands up. Yeah. But, like, in a different angle.
Like she's skiing. Like a slalom.
Kind of like a ski, but, you know, like, instead of, like, a... You know, I don't even know how to... but she'd put her hands, like, in a different place every time. So it wasn't, like, a repeatable action. And so there was that, and, like, her choreography was clearly not very well thought out because she would do her moves. So, like, right, you're counting to 4 or maybe to 8, like, in most things. Right. And, like, you know, it's like, okay, you do 8 counts of the cha-cha, and then you switch and you do 8, you know, marching in place or whatever the fuck. And, like, she would get to, like, the, you know, like 7 or even like 6.5 and kind of stop doing what she was doing and, like,
she just got bored of it.
Just awkwardly kind of, like, transition to the next thing, which is so confusing to be like, wait, we're still on count 6. Like, why are we pausing, and am I supposed to pause or am I supposed to finish my set? And then, you know, she then starts early and offbeat with the next thing. It was, I know this sounds completely like trivial and not important to the people listening at home. Let me tell you that I was ready to start a fight. I was like, I have to lead a revolt. I'm going to have to lead this Zumba class now. It was unbelievable.
Honestly, you should have.
I thought about it. I actually thought to myself, I need to make sure that I am not communicating all of the things I'm definitely communicating on my face. I was like, I have to make sure I was definitely like rolling my eyes and making like what the fuck is this bitch
Get a
on?
load of this guy.
Yeah. I was like, I need to not do that because I don't want to start any problems. But it was hands down just like incompetent. And she wasn't young, like old, or she was old, you know, she was like standard Zumba instructor age. She was probably like 40. So it's like, you know, yeah.
So like not Zoomer brain, like getting bored of the moves after like 6.5 beats, like fuck it.
Yeah, that's what I mean. She was clearly like, you know, she had to have done it before. So she was like leading a class. She talked about other classes she had led and how there's normally more regulars there. But then, and here's the other thing. During the cool down, which usually there's like you know, a song or maybe 2 songs of like gentle, slower movement and like stretches to like cool yourself down after your, you know, the intensity of the rest of the class. And she like went around the room and high-fived everybody when the cool down song started. And she's like, wow, you guys did fantastic, blah, blah, blah. And then as she's stretching, she keeps talking about like, yeah, usually there's these other people here and the class is this and that and the other thing. And she held the same stretch. We stretched basically 2 different poses. She held the same stretch for a full minute of the song, which is a long fucking time because she was just talking and distracted. So she's like, you know, it's just like a simple, like, you know, one leg forward, one leg bent, kind of stretching down, reaching toward your toes.
Like hip hinge type thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where you stick your butt cheek out. And like,
yeah.
But like for a minute, like a minute of that, which like not only is that, you know, painful and like hurts to stand in for that long, but also just, you know, there's no actual like stretch happening. It was awful. I was like, this person should have their Zumba license revoked. Like she banned. Like she's on a list.
You can like do that.
I bet I
can. Call the the like Zumba Association of America.
Yeah.
ZA. Like good ZA.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was bad.
No, I feel that though. Getting a bad Zumba instructor can be like horrible. Is this because you've been to the same gym before?
Yeah.
Like, is this a new gym or okay?
This is a new day of the week at the same gym. So
okay.
So I hadn't gone on Monday beforehand. This was the first because I moved, and so now I'm going to a different gym, and so this is the first Monday class I had been to, and thankfully, immediately after the class ended, like the song ends, and I was like, I have to check the fucking schedule and make sure that she is not hosting any other classes. And thankfully she is not. So I will just not be going to Monday Zumba anymore. But it was terrible.
That's so weird though, honestly, because like, I don't know. I mean, it'd make more sense if she was a sub, because it's like, oh, all right, like the sub doesn't really know what she's doing, whatever. But to be the consistent Monday Zumba and just...
It's crazy. Yeah. Especially because like, yeah, anyway, we don't have to litigate this for too long. This is We Want to Watch It. My name is Lane.
My name's Ricky.
Are you good, bro, by the way? Because you've been getting up and, like, looking for a cat?
Archie's, like, I don't know what he's doing. He's just walking up to, like, the wall. He was walking up to this thing for a second and just, like, meowing at it and then scratching at it.
Cool.
I don't know what he wants.
Well, my cat is also...
Now he's skulking up here.
Skulking. My cat wants fed.
Okay, well, now he's just sitting down. All right, he looks kind of happy. I don't know, man.
Banksy's
Archie's a weirdo.
He's on a tear right now because he wants to be fed. I did not feed him yet.
Yeah. I'm still worried about Lionel.
Anyway, I'll cut all that out so that...
Well...
so that we're getting to the talking about the movie before 20 minutes is up.
Well...
We'll see how much
we still got 55 seconds.
55. I only have
50.
Okay, 50. Yeah. Okay. Fine.
Yeah.
Okay. This is We Want to Watch. I already introduced this, but my name's Lane.
My name's Ricky.
Go ahead.
No, it's your
No,
movie.
please. No, please.
No.
If you were queuing it up to say something, that means you got something to say.
It was just an interjection thing, to be honest with you. I do have stuff to talk about with this movie, but
I bet.
please introduce it.
This was a Lane's Frame.
That's supposed to be.
I almost said a licks flick. What's that? Oh, you know what? Okay. Flick. It's always Rick's pick. We never do Rick's flick.
Oh,
this is good because when we
true. I like that.
Okay. Anyway. This was Elaine's Frame. We watched Othello, directed by Orson Welles, from 1951. Something I noticed very quickly today. I watched. This was the first time I had seen this movie, although we have both watched a couple of Orson Welles films, both on and off this podcast. I realized I went back to rewatch it this morning, and I didn't want to fuck around with pulling up Criterion Channel, so I just pulled up YouTube, and I was like, oh, it's free with ads. Cool, I'll watch this. Because I had watched the version on Criterion, and I didn't get to check the one from Internet Archive that you watched, but I'm learning now that there are like 5 versions of this movie. So there's a high likelihood that we watched 2 different versions. And the reason I messaged you about it was because the one on YouTube, there's narration. Is the one with Internet Archive, does it have any narration in the beginning where he basically like outlines the plot? No.
The beginning was like the funeral scene.
Yes.
And it was just like a dirge playing.
Yeah. Okay. Then maybe we did watch the same one. I don't know, but yeah, it's like I watched the like one without narration that just starts with the funeral dirge and just launches into the text of the play. But then there's one on YouTube that like he kind of starts and he's like, Othello was of Amor in Venice and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, why are you? And it just like kind of skips through. I didn't watch it because I was like, this is really bad. It
does say that he was a Moor in Venice, but I thought that was just in like it was just like text on screen. It was
literal text.
It was like out of like a
probably.
book. Yeah.
But this was actual voiceover that Wells was doing, and like I said, it kind of accompanied like really choppy editing, kind of like it reminded me of like a TV show doing like previously on, like it was like that kind of like catch up to basically the point where Othello does his little speech about how he made Desdemona fall in love with him. And so I was like, oh god, Ricky, I hope you didn't watch this fucking version. But it sounds like we're good.
Yeah. Oh no, I don't know. Now I'm kind of doubting myself. I don't know. I will say my version did have...
Go ahead. Go.
My version did have Portuguese subtitles, which were like a part of the movie itself, not anything else. So like completely unable to get rid of them, and like my eyes kept like flickering to them all the time. I was like, oh, Voss, yeah.
Oh my god! Anytime you do that, message me, and I will get you I will find you a better.
No. I mean, it doesn't like affect the viewing experience that much.
It doesn't, because you just said your eyes were flickering back and forth the whole time.
Well, yeah, but I'm used to doing that, right?
Oh.
I watch a lot of subtitled media, Lane. All right, come on.
Okay, all right. What did you think of this movie?
I'm a weeb. I liked it. Having not seen, having like no knowledge of the story, not seen like a play about Othello, not really knowing about Othello. The story itself, like, not to shit on the story, but like it's kind of basic, right? But the movie I think does really well with it. There's a lot of like super interesting shots. I think like the performances are great. But like the story is like really sort of like straightforward. Like, hey, this is what's happening. And I thought I'd get lost, to be honest with you.
I'm
and like
glad
several
you
times I was like, yeah. Several times I was just like, oh, okay, like I was like, oh man, am I like missing something? And I was like, no. Iago is just straight up like betraying this guy. Like, what a shithead. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
It is true that Iago is a world-class hater, unseen since the likes of Salieri. But this movie is missing something. This movie, there's huge chunks of the play not in this movie. You really get a lot more like characters. Like the plot is not anything. There's nothing from what I remember. There's nothing in the play that is not in the movie as far as the plot goes. Like the basic plot beats are all there. But there are huge swaths of like characterization that are missing. Like in the beginning when you open and Iago's like, I hate the Moor. There's like 6 paragraphs before that in the play where he's like, I hate the way that you walk, the way that you talk, I hate the way that you dress, you know, kind of thing. And like, and he like actually says a lot of iconic lines. When we take ships,
we gonna be direct.
Thank you. Yeah, ships. Thank you. I'm glad you got that in 30 seconds late.
I'm sorry, I was thinking of it. Come on.
I'll cut it out. So yeah, there's like a quite a few very iconic lines that I don't think are in this movie because they were cut down. And this movie is a quick 90 some minutes. So like but and reading up on, because once I realized that there was like this vastly different fucking version of this movie on YouTube, I was like, okay, what's going on here? And like I started reading up on the production of this movie, and it's fucking insane, as we've come to kind of learn, I think, with Orson Welles films. But like, it sounds like he basically wanted to cut it down to bare bones, not only for like practicality, but just in his vision. And so I think I agree with you in that the story is so simplified, and I am not 100% sold on all of the like window dressing, so to speak, taking its place adequately. Like I just I don't know. I have mixed feelings on this movie for sure. More mixed than I thought I would. I liked it, but I'm definitely not fully on board the way I want it to be.
Yeah. I'll go so far as to say like I definitely do not think that this is a bad movie, but
no,
like I don't know how much there's to be gleaned from like a rewatch, and like it's not a movie that I would really like recommend to someone.
Interesting.
Just kind of straight up.
Yeah. See, I think it's rewatchable. I don't know. I think the cinematography is like fucking incredible, but like it's still very weird to watch this super ambitious project. Like, it's clearly very ambitious, but it is very sloppy. And so it's, you know, there's parts of this movie that are like, obviously the dubbing, like, so like we saw with the trial, like tons of the dialogue is like dubbed poorly, like over, or like very mismatched, you know.
So some of it is really mismatched in terms of emotion, but like
that too. Yeah. Well, I just meant even the physical like words on lips was mismatched too. But yeah.
A lot of mine lined up pretty well. But like especially in the emotional scenes, like between Othello and
Desdemona.
Who is his wife?
Desdemona.
Yeah.
If you didn't have the damn fucking Portuguese subtitles on, you would have known that. Anyway.
Yeah, my bad. But a lot of their conversations, like when they redub them, like you can see Othello, like his lips like kind of barely moving, and her lips also like sort of like barely moving. But then like the raw emotion, like you can tell that they're in the booth, like almost screaming out their lines.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's like, I don't know, weird, right? Especially because like in a play format, you would expect their actions to be just as over the top as their words, right? Especially when it matches up with the emotion well. And so like to not see that as like disjointed, I guess, a little jarring kind of.
Yeah. Well, and part of the production, I guess, too. So like this was filmed over like 5 years or some crazy, like a long ass time. Like he was basically weekend warrioring this movie. And so after I found out about the production, I there's a documentary that he directed about this, like it's called like Filming Othello, and I watched about half of it. He mentions that basically because of the strained schedule and their issues with financing and like everything, they shot in two different countries and across so many years that things weren't like shot chronologically. They weren't, you know, so you would have a scene that was shot, you know, a year ago in one country, and then it would pick up, like the next cut would be, you know, like in a totally other country a year later. And so I feel like you really feel that. And like, again, I think this is super ambitious. It's just so sloppy. It's like shocking almost. You know, parts of it are really cool, like all of the use of like cinematography and the set design, like the idea of like all of the kind of like blowing this story up to a big like outdoor kind of like castle, and like like some of the sets of like the sauna or whatever it is, the baths, like some of those are really like peculiar and interesting choices, and I can see the vision, but it's just it feels so, you can feel that it's so like such a stressful production, and it's rough to watch.
The one set that really struck me is Desdemona and Othello are speaking, and he sort of like goes up a flight of stairs or through a door, and she's left in the background, and there's two shots where you see him sort of like talking to her, and she's like way in the background through the door, and he's like forefront of the frame, and then it like pans out for the next shot, and like we see that the door frame is only a frame, right, in order to like keep her in the shot in the background. But like no longer in the door frame while he like leaves. And it was such an interesting and cool shot composition. I was like, man, that's like really, really cool, and like really interesting set design. Like you had to have a very clear vision going into that, like, hey, these are the shots that I want to get from different locations, and then like the overarching shot so you can see both of us, and like that stuff's like really, really super cool. But then like either 5 minutes,
but then their mouths don't match their voice. Like,
right,
it's, you know,
right.
it's
Their mouths don't match their voice. And then like 5 minutes before or after that, there was like, and this is what sort of makes me question whether I saw a like quote unquote bad cut. There was a scene where there was like 5 or 6 jump cuts between like people speaking, just going back and forth between them, which like didn't really feel too necessary. Especially
that's
because
what
like
I'm saying.
it wasn't like putting them on either side of the frame either. It was like keeping them on one side of the frame and just like shooting from odd angles. And I was like, what is happening here then?
It's hard because part of it, I think part of the odd angles, like there's a lot of like canted angles and like diagonal lines and things like that in this that obviously are intentional, like to show, you know, a descent into jealous rage or whatever. But part of it too is definitely because they were shooting, like they changed the cast, like they had different actors playing like Desdemona.
Really?
Yeah, like there's all kinds of crazy shit.
I didn't pick up on that. Jeez.
Yeah, like not like mid movie, but like they had to reshoot with a different cast. Yeah.
Okay.
But you can feel it because they're clearly like just different points in time, different, you know, like stages of these people's fucking lives, you know, where they're delivering these lines. It's crazy, but yeah, so it's more fun. I feel like it's a cool movie, and there's definitely some standout stuff in it, but it's more interesting than it is good. So
yeah.
So before we get into all of that, I do want to talk about Othello the play a little bit, just because I think that deserves its own. Now, of course, it's been trimmed down, so like I know you haven't read it or anything like that, but
right.
What did you think of the story and like, you know, the themes in it, setting aside the movie itself?
Yeah, I mean, so like we said, pretty straightforward story, like of jealousy, driving Othello, Iago driving Othello to revenge, against his wife, unjustly, and against his, like, other
his bud
commander or
Cassio.
second hand, lieutenant. I love it. I love hearing lieutenant instead of lieutenant, and I was actually thinking about that the other day. So like as soon as I started hearing it here, I was like, yes, hell yeah, we're bringing back lieutenant.
I thought it was lieutenant.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't. I thought they said lieutenant. I could be wrong.
I could have watched the wrong version, Lane. Okay, maybe that's one of the changes between the two.
Any discrepancies that the two of us have between our like our recollection of the movie this time, we can just
we can hand wave just to that. Yeah. That was one good change. They should put that on all of the cuts. Make it all lieutenants. I want a right tenant. But yeah, no, I mean, it seems like, I don't know, it does feel like pretty Shakespearean too, right? Like he writes a lot of things where it's like, oh, like there's a betrayal of one closest to you and it leads to a tragic end for all, right? It's like, yeah, okay, get it. I don't know, it didn't, this movie, maybe just because of when I'm being introduced to it, it doesn't feel as groundbreaking as like Macbeth or Romeo, right? And like maybe just because read those in high school, saw stuff about them, and they were like more formative to me, I guess,
Yeah.
than this movie was.
So no, I think you're fair. So Othello has, I mean, people definitely think Othello is like one of the great tragedies, right? Like one of the great Shakespeare plays. But it does have a more complicated history for a couple different reasons. One of, I think, the most obvious being the race aspect of it, and just like,
right.
And we can talk about that more, both in the context of this movie and just in general with the story. But I think the thing that people love about Othello specifically is Iago. Iago in the play is like the main guy. He has like the most lines. He's like the guy that you're with the whole time. Othello's not actually like the main character, but Orson Welles, big fucking ham and cheese sandwich that he is like, no, we're gonna open on my dead face and we're gonna end with, you know. And so like I can, because like the movie or the play doesn't start with the funeral, like obviously, you know, that's kind of, it's like, that's totally a Wells invention. So like I feel like you've been robbed of like some of the really great, like I kind of want to tell you to like Google like Iago famous lines or something, because he has some like really like cutting, disgusting, evil fucking shit that he says, like, you know, to both to rile Othello up, and just when he's like, by the way, I'm a hater because like and so that's like the big, you know, the kind of like, I keep drawing comparisons to Amadeus, but kind of like with Salieri, like that character's so interesting and complex, and like his hatred and jealousy is such a motivating factor. And I do feel like this movie, while I do like the performance of Iago, I do think that by cutting out so much and kind of reframing things around Othello a little bit more, it leaves the most interesting part of the movie or the play kind of on the cutting room floor. So
yeah, for sure. I felt no particular attachment to Iago. Like seeing him, I was like, oh, this guy's like a dickhead. Like, why would anyone trust him? I don't know how he gained like Othello's loyalty to such a degree.
Right.
Like, I don't know. And it also would have been more interesting to see like the sort of double life thing. Not double life, like the two-faced aspect, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, we see like a few conversations that he has with Othello, and like, yeah, he seems like okay to the guy, but not like, I would trust you with my life, and if you told me my wife was cheating on me, I'd kill her because of it. Like, I just don't get that vibe from the guy, right? Like, I don't know.
Sure. Yeah.
And like, do we really see any scenes with him by himself?
No,
like,
I think
about his motivations.
I think he's always with Rodrigo, his like dumbass buddy, who, you know, he ends up
he tries to get to.
Yeah. So I mean, you get a lot of those scenes. I think in the play he talks to himself in classic monologue fashion or soliloquy fashion, but
I could go for a good soliloquy. I'm sorry.
It's qui, but soliloquy.
We will. Okay.
Listen, I am just slowly planting the seeds for us to watch the 4-hour Hamlet. This is what we're fucking leading up to.
Lane, I'm down for it, honestly.
I know you are.
If this movie was like 3 hours, right?
And it'd be bitching. Like, yeah, it'd be a good movie.
Yeah, really dive deep. Yeah, hell yeah.
I'm just saying Hamlet is a bit of a mountain. Like it's known as it is a complicated kind of, not a slog, but it's long and there's a lot going on in it. So I thought
normally they built Hamlets on like molehills instead of mountains.
So we should talk about the blackface in this. Wow. It sucks. It's awful. There's no like everything I read about this was like either did not mention it at all, or like was kind of like, oh well, he's not like going full blackface, because so Laurence Olivier is another
bronzer face, right? Like
it really is. It's like he darkened his foundation. You know, he's got the Instagram filter on, but like it's clear what he's doing, right? And I think part of why it doesn't get talked about or is talked about in this like apologetic way, just from like the criticism I read, it seems like people are comparing it to the Laurence Olivier version, which he is like they call him like the great actor, like the great man. He's like big Shakespeare, big like He's in a movie we'll do one day called Rebecca. He's a very famous British actor. You might recognize him. And he did a version of Othello where he was like fully in blackface, like hardcore, like much darker, much more offensive than whatever this is. I mean, not that this isn't offensive, but like to the point of caricature, whereas this just feels more,
oh yeah,
you know, just like lacking taste. I don't know, but yeah.
I mean, I can kind of understand like not committing fully, right? Like just sort of having the bronzer.
Yeah, he's
right?
like half-assing it in a way, which
right. But also it's like, I mean, you don't want to draw undue criticism or ire from like the public in general.
Sure.
And like, you definitely don't want to be seen as a caricature, right? Like,
well, sure, but like this was the 50s. Like, I don't think that anyone would have batted an eye if he had done. You know what I mean? Like, I think in modern context,
maybe not. But
yeah.
I mean, does that make it age better?
Oh no,
right?
No, definitely not.
No.
Oh,
like
you mean
like him not committing. Like, is that like? No, you don't think so?
I don't think so. I mean, it's definitely like, I guess it's not aged as worse, or like,
right?
If that makes it like it's still like the bar is very low, I guess, to like, you know, yeah. Plus, it's just so bizarre because Wells. I was talking about this with Christopher last night when we watched it. He had like this progressive background, you know, where he like was like a big union guy. I mean, Citizen Kane is like all about like yellow journalism and shit like that, and like he's his part of his like big fucking claim to fame, or like his early kind of catapult to fame,
notoriety,
was from doing a all black production of Macbeth that he like produced. And so like there's, you know, like obviously race was something he had thought about previously, so it's just, you know, I'm not saying that like, oh well, it's just the time that they, you know, didn't think about this as an offensive thing, but it's I don't know, it's like eye-opening to be like, oh yeah, even if you are progressive, you're probably still doing racist shit that people are going to look down on you on history, you know, if you're not like always thinking about that kind of thing.
So if he had maintained his role as Othello, right, and done it like just barefaced, right, white guy, would that be better or worse?
I think that the best option, he should be fucking Iago if he wants to be the center of the play so bad,
right?
You know what
so
I mean?
Like, no, I know. That was gonna be like the follow up. Is like, well, like obviously he needs to be the center man. So, and honestly, it probably would have made more sense if he was Iago.
Yeah.
But I mean, I don't know. I can't speak to his ideas behind this. But if he wanted to stay Othello, right?
Yeah.
I feel like he has to give the viewer what, like, no matter what their background, like they have to know, like, oh, okay, like this man is not white up on screen, right? Even
but
though,
sure, but like, okay, so part of it is like he fucked with the text so much that like, why not make it like, there have been productions. So, and I was referring to this earlier when I talked about Othello having a bit of a complicated history, like racially, like I can totally see why now in 2024 a black man might not want to portray this character, because it's kind of a stereotype. It's like a, you know, like a you know, the overly violent black guy who's like rageful and lustful and kills a white woman. Like, I think that there's serious considerations to be made there, but there have also been like race swapped versions of this play where it's like an all black cast with a white Othello, and like you know, I don't know, like that might be a little bit too kind of really like cool. Galaxy brained. Yeah, actually, I think Patrick Stewart did that. I might be making that up. So someone, yeah, I want to say it was Patrick Stewart.
I believe it.
Othello in that. So, but yeah, so like I don't know if that's too kind of like crazy of a take for this time period. But like, I don't know. Obviously, he's a creative guy. He has this vision, and so you know, ultimately, he wanted to play, you know, dress up and look like a fucking buffoon. It sucks. It blows. You know, it sucks and blows.
Facts. Yeah.
Yeah.
have I introduced you to my new Hoover vacuum? Anyway. I don't know. It didn't strike me as like too I guess offensive to a degree because he didn't commit fully, right? I was like, all right, like if he had like really really gone to like extreme lengths, I would have been like, ooh, this is kind of distasteful to watch. But to me, this almost is like just like a stage signal, right? Like if they were putting on a play and like
Yeah.
it's like, oh, okay, right, like
Yeah.
it's enough that like, oh, I know that's a white guy with like makeup on, right?
Right.
But the makeup isn't like in a mocking way, right?
Yeah. Well, I read an essay about, and it's interesting you say that. I read an essay actually from like a Black Shakespeare historian, and she, I think, was arguing that actually maybe it's more true and like racially, just or like less racist for a white man to play a black man in this play because it was written by a white man, and then you're kind of forced to consider the racist implications of the plot, like not just like I think there is a reading, in, and this kind of goes like with our Silkwood episode, like there's a reading in 2024 of this where it's like obviously this is about discrimination and like how a lot of the kind of problems that Othello faces in this are brought about, or like the discrimination he faces is because he of racism. And
yeah,
I don't know how much of that is supposed to be in the text of the play. It's been a long time since I read it. So, but, I do think there's a possibility that that's not the case. And so, what stereotypes are you perpetuating in this play by depicting this black man this way? And is it more, true or kind of like, I don't know, thoughtful for it to be a white man?
Yeah, because you mentioned earlier the like, oh, like certain black actors might not want to take the part because
totally
it's
right,
like a quick to anger black man. I'll be honest with you, I didn't quite get that reading from it. I just saw him as like, yes, impassioned, maybe lustful to a degree, but ever faithful, right?
Sure.
And he takes that to like a very extreme degree. That was the thing that I felt most alienated from, was that he was like so distinctly like, oh, like she's my wife, like have you what it is, he doesn't say impropriety, but the terms that they use around it are like very sort of like odd, but when he's confronting her about cheating, it's like really
he's possessive,
like it's very possessive, and he feels very offended by that, but it's like it doesn't seem like it's, and especially with like in the killing scene as well, it's almost like he has a sense of like duty and like, I don't want to say honor to it, but he's like, hey,
no,
like
that's
like, this sucks, but like
he has a lot
it's
of
something
resolve
that I've got to do now
at that point, right? He's basically like, say your prayers, like make sure you admit to any of your sins. Like he's very like matter of fact in that scene, and I think that's a choice, by Wells to like shoot it that way and depict it and like play it that way, because I don't think it has to be that way. So
so I mean, at least to me, it's not like oh, like this like aggressive angry black guy just flew off the handle from hearing that his wife cheated on him, because like it takes like most of the day, and he was like, hey, like listen, just so you know, like what's his face, Cassio's out of the picture now, like, and she's like, go, like hear it from him, and he's like, he's not speaking to anyone anymore, like those lips
he's
are
with the
sealed.
fishes.
yeah
I mean, I guess it depends on the performance or the version of the play that you're watching or reading. So I can see that. It just, again, it ultimately it sucks. I feel like I have not seen any other adaptations of this. I don't think there's a few, but I do think it's a more complicated one than most of his other tragedies for that reason. And it sucks that so many of like the classic adaptations, I think, like this one, probably have this problem of blackface. And it's just I don't think I would recommend this movie either to anybody. It's an interesting artifact if you're like a hardcore Shakespeare fan, or you're into Orson Welles, like, and want to see that kind of part of his trajectory. I would recommend it, but other than that, there's no way I'd be like, oh, this is the best version of Othello, you should definitely watch this.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. Maybe one day we'll watch another version of it that doesn't have this problem, and we'll see how it fares. Because there's actually a version with Kenneth Branagh, who was Henry V.
Oh, okay.
And he's playing Iago. He's not Othello.
Right.
So maybe someday we'll watch that, but that's got Lawrence Fishburne in it too.
For sure. Ooh, okay. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it'd be interesting. I don't know. I'd like to see other takes on it, I guess.
Yeah.
Because without like knowing the source material, and like having seen nothing else about it, like it didn't blow me away. And again, like we mentioned earlier, the like cinematography really cool. There obviously is a vision behind it. Whether it hits the mark on the vision or on like I don't know, just in general, whether it hits the mark is sort of up for debate, really. But I mean, I don't know. I can't say whether or not he's done justice by the play in this. So
I think there's also, you're gonna laugh at me, I think there's also a version of this play set in a high school where it's a school shooting. Am I making that up? Like right around the time of 9/11. I feel like I heard about this recently. Yeah, okay. Yeah, so like back when they were doing like the teen adaptations like Romeo plus Juliet and 10 Things I Hate About You, like of Shakespeare, there's it's called Oh, I know why I looked at this. It was because it was in Josh Hartnett's filmography.
Okay.
I was like, what's this guy done? Yeah, but bad. I think that's a terrible choice. I can't see how that's aged well, like a school shooting. Anyway.
Yeah, that feels even worse. Well, maybe not.
That
worse,
really does feel. It's up there.
Yeah. They have blackface in the school shooting one too.
No. This is from like 2000 or 2001.
You're just like, well, I mean, they did it on Always Sunny, so
yeah. Well, that's a Philly problem. So Facts. I do think, like, I think the ambition of this is to make it like. I think what Wells is trying to do is, instead of just having it be a character drama, kind of, or character driven, like, the complexities of Iago and like this tortured soul of Othello, like, I really think it's more about the world being tumultuous and like shadowy and full of betrayal and jealousy. Like, I get more of like man versus world from this, like the specific, like setting it in this crazy nature and like all of the like waves crashing on and cliff sides and ships and cannons, like bleh, like there's a lot of bleh in this movie.
and even with like Cassio right in the beginning when he like chases down the guy that tries to knock him out.
When they're fighting.
It's very like there is no justice in the world. Like man must enact his own justice upon it. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So I
definitely get that.
Yeah, I feel like that's part of what's so interesting about what the cinematography lends to. I wrote down like my very first note was, this movie looks like The Departed. Because of all the crosses. There's so many crosses. I don't know if you remember that in The Departed, everything there's like X's and like bars and like iron bars and shit like all over the characters, and like it gives you this claustrophobic like people are being X'd out kind of feeling. And this has that too. There's like spikes and at one point when they're it's like in the scene where he's like, me a cuckold, when he's talking to Iago, they're and cannons start like blasting, and then they're underneath this like terrace, I guess. Yeah, where there's like this like cross-hatched like sticks above them, and it looks like they're like in a cage. It's cool. There's a lot of shots like that of like them being trapped or kind of condensed or constrained by the world. So it's it is interesting, and it is in service of that vision. It's just the actual technical sloppiness is really hard to look past.
Yeah. It's not a film without flaws, right? Like, to sort of say the least. I don't know. I I did sort of recognize and appreciate a lot of that. I mean, maybe not so much the caged and stuff, although, like, looking at it now, yeah, that makes sense. I just sort of saw that as part of the, like, location where they were. But I don't want to say erratic, but, like, erratic sort of bombastic nature, I guess, of the film, and, like, how it's shot, and, like, sort of, like, how scenes transition, even, because it's very, like, snappy with it, almost, you know?
Yeah.
So, yeah.
It's hard not to think that it is intentional, given that it took them so fucking long. You know, they had, like, I feel like it has to have been, like, okay, like, we can only do this for this weekend. Like, what are we doing and how are we doing it? Like, I feel like that is required. And plus, I'm sure that they filmed a whole lot more than they included in these cuts of the movies. So, you know, all of their choices are deliberate, right? There's a lot that goes into editing.
And especially for the time, too, right? Because, like, this is when they were, like, I don't know, like, this is when they're, like, you're, like, cutting it up, like, you're on the cutting floor. You're, like, you're, like, cutting the film, like, putting them to each other.
Yeah, they were doing that shit basically till the 90s or early 2000s, so.
That's fucked, man. Like, what?
I mean, they still do it, but, you know.
Ah! No! It's digital now, it's all digital! I don't want to hear it, no analog, no!
It is. It's intense, and that's part of the charm, you know. I do think that there's a little bit of charm to the scrappy nature of this, but I don't know. It like you said, it's not great. There are flaws. Some of the things I did like. When there's a lot of, like, reflection in it as well. A lot of, like, staring down the situation that you're in kind of stuff, like people looking in mirrors. Or there was one shot that really stood out to me, and it's during that fight scene, the scuffle between Cassio and whoever, Rodrigo, and there's, like, the guards are looking down onto the street, and there's a puddle, and you can see reflected in the puddle the guards looking down through, like, this hole, like there's like a oubliette type deal, like a little, like, viewing hole that they're looking through. And it's just cool, and then they splash into the water and it goes away, and you realize you've been looking at a reflection. It's just a very like disorienting, like, kind of shot,
and a great shot. I love tricks like that in movies. And, like, that's the thing, this movie does have a lot of, like, cool shots. Like trickery, like, interesting shots. I right around the same scene when who was it? Was it Iago that goes over there and, like, he like pulls out the sword, and you see him, like, poking it down between the
that's at the end in the baths. Iago is the one who stabs Rodrigo. He betrays his friend. He stabs but that's at the end.
That I also thought was really cool too, right? Like, just, like, the way that, like, you see, like, the sword come out, and, like, it's, like, pretty much the only, like, piece of light in, like, the whole scene, right? It's just, like, the light reflecting off of the sword, and then, like he's just sort of, like, mercilessly plunging it down. It's like, oh shit, like, this guy don't give a fuck, man. Which I don't know, it's cool, and it does play a lot to the man versus world type thing that you're talking about, right? Where, like, he's forging his own path, no matter how, like, I don't know, I don't want to say, like, perverted it has to be, but, like, I mean, it is kind of a perversion, right? Because he takes the will of, like, his best friend, and he turns it against...
Totally. Oh, it's 100%
those around him.
Yeah. Well, and I even think just, like, even from, you know, the machinations of the people, but also just the society that they are in, you know, is part of the villain. Like, there's scrambling for status, and the whole world is set up this way to make you insecure and make you hate women and think that women are, you know, deceitful and not to be trusted, and all of those things, you know. Even, I'm sure there's even a like a fucking Marxist view you could make of this movie, if you were smarter than me.
Hey, Marxists have views on everything, so yeah.
It's true. Yeah. I would say too... Oh, go ahead. No, please.
I was going to say, maybe sort of counter to that, I really enjoyed Desdemona's rebuttal to her father in the beginning. She's like, just as my mother was loyal to you instead of, like, and, like, had to betray the word of her father, like,
Yeah.
Like, so shall I be loyal to this man, my husband. I was like, damn, hell yeah, let's go. Which makes it even more of like a cruel irony that she's, smothered by the hand of the one that she loves.
Yeah.
And almost sort of like gives herself over to it, right? Like, she's like, hey, like, that wasn't me. Like, I am innocent, but like, what is there to do? When I don't know, when just men are led astray. I don't know how to phrase that, but
no, for sure. And I mean, even the father, Brabantio, is like, she betrayed me. She's gonna betray you too, bro. Like in the beginning, which is like the first seed planted. So yeah.
Fucked up world we live in.
It is truly. A couple other things, I guess. In the beginning, when you see, and at the end, when Iago is being put in the cage and kind of like hoisted up, you think being hoisted is fun? I kind of got. I was like, this looks fun. This looks like it could be fun.
I really want to get like a dumbwaiter in whatever house I'm in, right? And I'd like one ideally that like has the chain in it. Like I don't really like trust. I know this sounds weird as an engineer. I don't trust machines all too often, right? So I want one that I can like hoist myself up. It'll have safeties on it and whatnot, of course, and it'll stop at floors. But I want to feel the chain in my hand. I want to be able to, like. Of course, I also want it to be like extremely cramped and tiny in there too. Like I want it to be like barely feasible for me to fit inside in order to hoist myself up. That's a part of the charm.
When we make your October movie marathon list for Halloween, I have a movie for you that has a dumbwaiter in it.
Okay. Oh, wait. Does
It's me. I'm the dumbwaiter. Go ahead. Sorry.
I've never been a waiter, Lane. No. Doesn't The Shining have a dumbwaiter in it? No. Okay.
Not to my knowledge.
All right, that's fine.
No. Am I making that up?
No, I mean, I'm probably the one making it up, honestly.
No, I think you're thinking of Jurassic Park. Maybe?
I don't know. I don't know if I've seen that movie all the way through either, by the way, Lane. Not to give you a heart attack. But...
Wait, oh my, okay, yeah, I was like half paying attention to what you were saying.
Yeah, no, I know, because I didn't see the reaction that I expected.
That's crazy. We should go see that movie. So one thing that sometimes I've heard for Othello, that one take that people have on Iago is that he might be gay, might have a thing for Othello, whatever. Another stereotype we could throw into this movie. And as I was watching, I was like, oh, the actor's like really leaning into like the gay portrayal of Iago. And then as I was reading through the cast, I was like, oh no, this is just a gay man. Like,
yeah.
Which, cool, good for him. I mean, get your bag. And it's a cool performance. Like, he does bring a lot of menace and like kind of like sickly, like not delight. He never delights in what he's doing, but he definitely, he takes a lot of like comfort in knowing that all of his plans have come to fruition.
Yeah. I honestly, I didn't really pick up on the gay thing too much, but I could see that pretty easily being
now
a take.
you can.
Yeah.
It's the lisp. He has a bit of a lisp, especially when he says Cassio. He has a lilt to his voice.
I knew he said it weird. I just sort of like brushed it off. I was like, man, this guy talks funny.
Yeah. But yeah, he apparently is like a very famous Irish, like gay Irish actor from that time period, which is cool.
Him. Yeah.
Just a couple other things I had in my notes. One, the shot, right? The one from the poster, right? Like Desdemona lying down on her back and Othello kind of like glaring over her face. The like shadowy, kind of like with his fucking big ass eyes. That's pretty cool. That's a good shot. It cuts to her being like, Othello, are you coming to bed? And he's like right there, like hovering over her. It's almost comedic.
Yeah, the camera angle there is really weird too, because it's like straight down on her, and he's just like, hey, what's up? Yeah,
yeah.
Like he had to be like right next to the camera as they're shooting that, which is like, I mean,
cool.
I don't know. Yeah, part of the vision.
Yeah. Anything else that you have to say about this movie?
Not really. I think we touched on everything. Like really good cinematography. Like great sort of set designs and everything behind that. Which is, I know, something we touched on a lot with like Roger Rabbit. So
That's true.
It's funny. Yeah, it's like funny to follow that up with this film, which is like so different in like tone and like setting.
It's also a noir like
it.
Roger Rabbit is, though, right? Like
that's true. Like... yeah. And it was released in the 50s, which Roger Rabbit is supposed to sort of like.
I was gonna say Roger Rabbit was Iago.
Yeah.
He tried out, but they had to dub over him.
That's why they had to keep doing reshoots. You know, these tunes, man. Right? And you know what? It's not to be like boss baby tweet, right? But like
this whole podcast is boss baby tweet.
Very true. It's just funny how Roger Rabbit is like sort of a commentary on like the sort of implicit racism that they face, right? Because like
true.
Like the tunes were completely like like they were like written off essentially. They're like, whatever. Like they're different than us entirely. And Othello, they're like, oh, he's a Moor, you know, and it carries different connotations with different people, but he's definitely put into a box, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know, kind of just interesting parallels from like two very, very, very different movies.
Yeah, I agree. So, Richard.
So, Lane. I don't know how to expand that. Lane
nerd.
Yeah, that felt weird. I was gonna say it.
So starting next week, it's gonna be the 6 weeks leading up to Halloween.
It will.
So, do we want to announce our little project happening here?
Yeah. Oh yeah. As you're the one strong-arming me into it.
Yeah. Well, okay, so you're doing the movie marathon separately from the podcast, but some of the movies we'll be watching for the podcast will apply to your movie marathon. That's like a square and a rectangle. They're different, but one is the same. So for the next 7 episodes of this podcast in the lead up to Halloween, so from the 20th of September through the 31st, we will be doing horror movies exclusively. We're still trying to stick to a Rick's Pick Lane's From format, but we have most of them picked out in advance. But I will give you the choice to, if you want to unlock anything in Ricky. Because next week, your Rick's Pick was supposed to be Midsommar, but if you want to do a different horror movie instead of Midsommar, I can reread you the list here, and I'll cut all this out.
No, I'm pretty hyped to see Midsommar. I will say I did hear that it's returning to theaters because I was talking to Lane and because I was talking to Zach and Tori about
I'm
this.
Lane.
You are Lane. Yeah, good for picking up on that. So, I was talking to Zach and Tori about it, specifically just about movies that are great in theaters, and they mentioned that Midsommar is coming back. I don't know if that's just like a theater in their area that's doing that.
I think it was already in theaters.
So I looked it up. It has been in theaters recently. There was IMAX that did a run of it, and I believe they did that in April. I could be mistaken.
June.
So
unfortunately,
June. Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they were referring to that, or if they if they know of some other some like local theater that's doing it near them. Either way, I feel like it's probably. I mean, it seems like a movie that I would love to watch in theaters, right? And it came up because I specifically was like, dude, Ari Aster movies. I wish I had seen Hereditary in theaters. Like, fuck, man, like that shit seems so tight to watch in theaters.
It was tight.
Fuck you.
I'm sorry. Yeah, I had such a good time watching Hereditary this most recent time. The first time I had was not a good time, but.
Well, yeah, and I mean they saw it in theaters too, because like they're big horror fans, and like I brought up Interstellar, which they didn't get to watch in theaters, but I was like that was
That's
like
coming
for me
back.
like one of the best movie theater experiences. Although I mean I also think like Long Legs was really great for that as well. And I don't know, I've had friends who really like the latest like Scream movies because like they're just like funny and good fun to watch with a bunch of people.
Everything's better in a theater.
Raucous.
There is not a single movie that is like the only movie I can think of where I really thought to myself, I wish I had seen this at home. I actually felt this way seeing The Boy and the Heron, the Miyazaki.
Interesting.
Because I was like, I wish I was curled up like on a couch with like a mug of tea. That I feel like is there are definitely some movies like that, but you know, I wouldn't not want to see that movie in theaters still because it is, you know, it's always better to see something on a big screen, at least the first time. Yeah. But I think I'll even like it more at home.
I was gonna say a lot of Miyazaki films are really good, like at home, sort of curled up, just nice and cuddly. Maybe it's raining a bit outside, light rain. Oh yeah.
Bro, I've had my windows open today because it's been like 70 degrees. It's fucking great. It's fall in here. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it was like 50 degrees out this morning.
Fuck yeah, that's awesome.
No, too fucking cold. Because I keep that door open all the time. No, way too cold.
That's great. That's great. I love that. Bring it on.
Keep it in the pod. If somebody heard that, come rob me. Try me. Anyway.
Ricky's address is. Anyway, so is there anything? Should we throw in The Shining? Should we pull something out and put The Shining in since we've been talking about The Shining? I'm into it, but we don't have to. We did just do a Stanley Kubrick, but we could, you know.
Is it? Go on. Is that on the movie marathon list?
It can be. It's just we want to do an episode about it?
I don't know if we want to do a full episode, but like I would like to at least mention it on the pod, and maybe like.
Yeah, we can always do recaps.
Right. Yeah, because that's the thing. We can always say like, oh hey, like.
I also
and especially
this.
Since right, especially since we'll be watching so many films, we can just sort of say like, hey, like. And that could be like sort of our intro for some of these, right? It's like, hey, this last week we watched yada 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 yada.
We solved the intro problem for the next 6 weeks. That's incredible.
Yeah, easy game. And then we can just go over like what we liked, what we didn't like about them, and then parallels, yada yada. Yeah,
so, I like it because we're not watching the same movies necessarily. Like I'm not watching the same movies all the time.
Oh,
like, we'll make our list.
Then I think that works even better because then we can have like a little powwow and
hell yeah,
work that out.
Okay,
hell yeah.
Okay, do we have a name for this miniseries? Like
Fright Fest? I don't know.
Fright Fest? That's so fucking lame. Oh my god. Do we have any bits? Do we do bits on this show?
No, I don't think we've done a single bit before.
What's like a scary watch?
That's what I'm trying to think of, right? Yeah. I'm trying to think of a word for scary, a W word for scary. And I came up with like withering or wuthering, and I'm like, that's only for heights. It's not a scary word.
That's a movie we'll watch one day. An Olivier movie. Wookie. I don't know.
Wookie.
I'm Googling synonyms for scary. Bone chilling, hairy. What is there like a rat like a Rick's pick, but it's like a spooky,
scary dairy,
like a
scary Harry, scary Larry. Now I'm just naming different people's names with scary.
Does anything rhyme with movie? Spooky's movie. That's lame. How are there no W words for scary? I feel like W is a scary letter. Like it should. Eerie, ghostly. Oh, gee, I hope the mic picked that up. I just cracked my neck and it felt so fucking good. Okay. Nice. Frightening films. That's lame. God, this is so lame.
What?
I'm trying. What are watch words? Like words about watches.
Like about watches or about watches?
About watches. Tick.
Yeah, like tick. Like I mean, you can like maybe do a play off of a watch face. Like it has a face. It has hands.
Yeah, scary.
These are like compelling, or scary.
Is there like a scary W word that's a verb? Like, we want to
We could
blank.
use it as a gerund.
It's a gerund. It's pronounced gerund.
Oh, is it pronounced gerund? Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
I shouldn't laugh. A Geronimo. W.
I'm just looking up W words right now.
I'm looking up W verbs.
Whack is there.
Well, I'm thinking, what could be we want to...
Wacko.
What do we want to do?
Wacko watches.
Ooh. Wackos want to watch. Wait.
Ooh, yeah. Wabbly. We could do wabbly. Or wobbly.
We don't want to weaken? We want to weep?
Oh, we want to weep is good. That's pretty
weep?
good.
There's whine or whisper. Oh, wait, there's actually some... We're cooking with W words here. We want to woo for a romance series. Wait, this is great. We should name all of our episodes.
We want to waken.
Like we want to wrestle.
Ooh, we want to wail. Wailing watches?
Jesus Christ, you're a genius. Okay, we want to wail. Sweet. All right, I will definitely not cut out the last 5 minutes of us workshopping. We want to workshop.
We want to workshop. That's good too. Yeah, leave it in. Leave it all in. Leave my address in. Fuck it.
Thank God for my night, man. It's gotta be. All right, so for the next 7 weeks, we want to wail, and next week is a Rick's pick. Do you want me to just say it since...
Yeah, what movie was it? I don't even... It's been so long since we talked about that.
We are going to be doing a separate movie marathon. I've made Ricky commit to doing Hooptober on Letterboxd. I'll send you the rules for that, and we'll workshop that at some point, Ricky. But next week, we want to watch Midsommar from, I believe, 2019, directed by Ari Aster. I'm double-checking that. I'll make sure I'm not telling tales out of school. Pretty sure that's a 2019 movie. But yeah, what you just want to see this because you like Ari Aster? What's the tea?
Yeah, I've seen parts of it too. Just because Tori was watching it once while Zach and I were playing a game in the other room, and it looks very intriguing. So yeah, definitely want to watch it.
Okay. So it's on.
Ari Aster rocks.
He does. It's true. There's like a regular cut and a director's cut. The director's cut's supposed to be bad, so watch the regular version.
Will do.
Watchers at home also watch the regular version. But I'm excited. I think this will be a good like end of summer movie too. Like this episode's coming out.
I mean, this is definitely post
kind of
midsummer, but it's still a good watch.
It's true. It's a good movie. I haven't seen it since it came out, so I'm excited.
Sweet.
Cool. Yay. Oh God, we didn't sing or say anything. What are we gonna end this episode with? Should we do like a single, like, should we have like one Halloween song outroing us for the next 6 weeks?
Yeah, we could do that.
We definitely don't have to commit to that.
Well, if we're gonna do the "We Want to Wail" bit, you could also do like, I don't know, like a Kiss song or something, screaming. Like something where they really start like wailing, where they're like, "Ay, ay, ay," like something like that. I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there, man. It's We Want to Workshop right now. You let me know what you're thinking with this. We want to weave the fucking yarn of fate.
Maybe I'll just end it with like... Did I ever show you that ASMR video of The Thing? That's like at the station.
No.
There's wailing, there's snow and wind sounds. Although that's more of like a winter vibe, I guess, than...
We're getting ready for it, right? Right? We're getting ready for it.
I bet there's like Halloween ASMR, like Halloween the movie, not like Halloween the...
Oh yeah, that'd be cool too.
Yeah, just like heavy breathing and leaves.
Dun.
Well,
is that Halloween? No, what is that?
Psycho. That's Psycho. I just said it 3 times.
My bad. I didn't hear it 3 times.
Don't worry. Psycho's our next watch. Okay. Does Othello have any music? Oh my god. We are unraveling quickly.
We want to unravel?
Actually, there's a... Nope, you've just said it, because Unravel, great game. Unravel 2, played that. There's a great song from that. I'll end with that. That's the most out of fucking left field song.
Hell yeah. Shout out Unraveled.